Hi, everyone. This is Lauren Baker, founder of Search Engine Journal. Today, we're going to have a special presentation with our partners at Botify. Cam, would you mind switching to the first slide, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
hmm
So yes, we're going to have a special presentation from search to transaction, how to master the customer experience, from our partners at Botify and their partner at AB Tasty. We're going to be having with us today Cameron Jenkins, who you've heard already from Botify, and Greg Batchelor from AB Tasty. So I'll give you two a chance to say hi real quick, and then I'm going to go through some housekeeping.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here. Thanks for being here.
Hey guys, Greg Batchelor. Very happy to be here with Botify today.
Great. I'm really excited about this presentation today because I think a lot of the conversation around search and SEO is based on rankings and traffic, and not always what to do or how to lay out the path for the consumer or the potential lead or whatever it may be after the fact. So this is going to be a great presentation and full of interesting info. Everyone, our official hashtag is SEJ Think Tank. When you see an amazing slide or some great data, feel free to take a screenshot, share it on Twitter, share it on LinkedIn, wherever. Make sure to tag Botify and AB Tasty and let us know, and let your friends know that they're missing out on some great info. Also, during the course of the presentation today, we're going to be having a few poll questions. So we'll be launching those. Please get ready for them and participate in those polls. It's going to give Cam and Greg a great idea of who they're speaking to, what your background is, and kind of help them, I guess, massage the presentation and conversation around your personal needs on that front. Also, once the presentation is over, stick around because we're going to be having a great Q&A session. As Greg and Cameron are going over the material, please feel free to ask your questions in the question box right here on GoToWebinar control panel. Then we'll be going through those questions at the end and addressing them. And I think we're gonna have about 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes or so for Q&A, and that's really when the magic happens. So stick around for that. And that's it from a housekeeping perspective. I'm going to let the both of you officially kick things off. So let's go.
Awesome. Sounds great. So we're going to turn on our cameras so we can say hi to you all.
Hey guys,
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, so I'm Cameron. I'm going to be helping on the Botify side of things, presenting some of that SEO information. If you're not familiar with Botify, we're enterprise SEO software, so we work with customers like Expedia and Glassdoor and Condé Nast. So I'm really excited to be presenting alongside Greg today.
Cool, awesome. Thank you, Cameron. I'm Gregory Batchelor. I'm the VP of Marketing here at AB Tasty. I'm out of New York today, and AB Tasty, if you don't know us, we're one of the fastest growing providers of testing, experimentation, personalization, and product optimization. And we also have some great customers in the US like Kiehl's, L'Oreal, Sephora, and Ashley Furniture.
Cool, awesome, thanks Greg. And Greg is gonna talk to you guys about something that's really exciting. Let's see, move over to the next slide. Go ahead, Greg.
Cool, awesome. So stick with us until the end of the presentation. We will draw someone to win a Amazon $50 gift card, and we will announce the winner just before the Q&A at the end of the presentation. So stick around.
Awesome, definitely stick around for that. So yeah, let's just dive in. Obviously, the title of this webinar is From Search to Transaction, How to Master the Customer Experience. But we wanted to just start out by giving some context for why we picked that, what it means, why Botify and AB Tasty teamed up to present on this together. So I think the SEO industry has been making some really great strides when it comes to thinking about searchers and not just search engines, which is great. I think there is still a temptation to kind of forget that the work we do has an end goal for our clients and our bosses, and that's growing customers and transactions and revenue. In a lot of cases, search results are going to be the customer's very first interaction with your brand, even before they get to your site. So thinking of SEO as a component in the customer experience can really help us drive that qualified traffic. But obviously we don't just need to get the traffic, we need to convert it. So that's where A/B Tasty's expertise is going to come into play. We really teamed up because we realized just how important it was for SEO teams and those digital experience and testing teams to work really closely together. SEOs, we really need to be asking ourselves questions, I'm driving traffic, but is it making my company money? And our testing team should be asking questions like, okay, I've created this amazing experience for my visitors, but am I getting all of the visitors that I could be? So just to kick it off, let's talk about search and its role in the customer experience. So Botify looked at hundreds of large enterprise websites, and we found something pretty shocking. If you were with us for Botify's last webinar, this will be familiar to you. But we found that Google's missing about 51% of all of those pages. And this 51% number actually represents pages whose signals totally indicate that they do want them crawled and indexed. These are pages that are giving off a 200 status code. They're the canonical version. They're not marked as no index, but these websites wanted Google to crawl those pages, but Google was missing them. So all of this whole reality leads to the fact that only 23% of pages on large enterprise sites, and this is from the same study, receive any organic search visits. So to put that another way, we're really trying to drive conversions from just 23% of our pages. And those are pages we've paid for and implemented our sites and spent our valuable resources on. So focusing on SEO means you get more chances to convert, basically. And by convert, I mean that can be an e-commerce purchase, or if you're lead gen, it could be a form fill, or if you're a publisher, that could be paid subscription signups. So another way we can kind of visualize the relationship between search and customers is this funnel here. So in purple, we have the SEO funnel. The reason we call it a funnel and it's represented as a funnel is because really every step is contingent on the one before it. So in yellow and orange next to that, we can see how each of those phases kind of corresponds to a phase of the customer experience. So this first phase here, it's really critical for SEOs, especially if you're one of those SEOs who work on a really large website or a really complex website. Really important to focus on crawl budget optimization. That's everything from using your robots.txt file to keep Google away from your unimportant pages, making sure you're only linking to those preferred version of your main pages if you can help it in your content and your sitemap, and cutting back really on anything that can take up Google's time, like slow page load and all those JavaScript resources. So speaking of JavaScript, we know as Google announced that Googlebot is evergreen, which is awesome. So it's going to navigate more modern JavaScript languages as it continues to update with the latest Chromium. So Google is continually making these improvements. They want to better understand JavaScript sites because those aren't going away. But on the Botify side, we operate on a trust but verify mentality. So we really recommend looking at your log files to see how often Googlebot and Bingbot and other search engine bots are crawling your JavaScript resources. Another good thing you can do to optimize for this phase is to run an HTML only crawl and then compare it against a crawl with JavaScript. You might find a lot of content and links that are loaded with JavaScript that don't need to be. So the result of crawling and rendering improvements then is going to be more key pages added to Google's index. As you can see in the diagram, those crawl render index, those are the prerequisites for a potential customer to be able to find you via search and buy from you. Those have to happen before that can happen. So once our content is in the search engine's index, it qualifies to show up when our potential customers are searching. That doesn't mean it will show up, it just means it qualifies. So to improve your chances of showing up, it's really important to ensure that we have content that matches the potential customer's intent at every single phase of their buyer's journey. So what I'd recommend here is to make sure you look at your queries, the things that are driving impressions, because they can really reveal a lot about your potential customer's mindset. And that's going to help you not only get more traffic, but it's going to help you get more qualified traffic that's likely to convert, which is what this is all about. So I figured while we're talking about intent and qualified traffic, it might be a nice time to tease some of our new data we just got back, which we're really excited about. So basically what we did was we looked at our data set to see how seasonality, specifically here Black Friday, might affect search patterns. And even things like Googlebot. So we did this because there are a lot of assumptions we can make about seasonality, but we really wanted the data to back that up. So I'll go through quickly some of the 3 main takeaways we saw just on the surface when compiling this. Well, for starters, Black Friday searchers were navigating to media websites. So traditionally more editorial content about 2 weeks before they then started searching and navigating to retail websites, which is pretty interesting. Holiday searches are conducted also much more on mobile devices than desktop, we found. And those are searches rather, not purchases, but that's still very interesting, we thought. And between the 4th week of November and the 2nd week of December is when we saw the biggest spike in Googlebot crawls. And that was true across all of the verticals we looked at. So not just retail, not just those e-commerce sites, but also media websites and classified websites. So I really wish I could reveal more now because it's really exciting, but we're currently in the process of compiling the rest of our data. We're going to be publishing it soon, so stay tuned for that. So back to the funnel, if our content is showing up for all of the ways our potential customers are searching, we really want to optimize for clicks. That means we're making sure we're not just in a good position, but that we also have the most relevant and compelling title tags, and that we're really zeroing in, for example, on pages that might be getting a lot of impressions, and they might even be in a high position, but they still have that low click-through rate. Focusing on that is really going to get our potential customers whose experience with our brand has started off-site in the search engine. It's going to get them to take that leap onto our site. So as you can see, every single phase of search is really critical to the customer experience because it kind of allows it to happen. It allows them to get to our site. And also each step has kind of these cascading benefits down the funnel, which means that even the most technical changes like our crawl budget optimizations, those can have a positive impact on revenue really downstream. So I wanted to give a real life example of that. It's going to come from one of our e-commerce customers who they were suffering some crawl budget problems, other technical issues, which can be common with e-commerce websites. So using Logfile analysis, they were able to see that Googlebot was spending most of its time on these pages from a segment that really served no strategic purpose on their site. And at the same time, ignoring pages that were actually really important to the business. So they were able to fix those issues and they saw these drastic improvements in their crawl ratio of their important pages. But what I really wanted to point out here is that those technical changes had an effect downstream, not just on traffic, which you can see here, but also very likely on revenue as well, since a big part of that spike was actually increased traffic to product pages. Which brings me to an interesting question that I really wanted to ask the SEOs in the audience. So since we're talking about these cascading benefits and how technical optimizations can even impact revenue, I was wondering if revenue was a KPI that you're held accountable for, or if it's more traditional KPIs in the SEO industry like rankings and traffic. So I will let Lauren take it away.
Absolutely. So here's our first poll. How many of you report on or are held accountable to bottom line KPIs like conversions and revenue? Yes, I'm held accountable to conversion revenue KPIs sometimes, but they're not my primarily KPIs. No, I'm not held accountable to conversion revenue KPIs, not yet, but we're looking to add those in the future. So if everyone could take a moment just to go ahead and vote in the poll right now. It looks like about 60% of attendees have done so thus far. However, we really like to hit that 75-80% mark. And this is something that's really interesting, right? Because at the end of the day, our ability to be associated with or drive revenue and conversion is our livelihood, or can be our livelihood. Let's go ahead. We're at 76% right now. I'm going to do a countdown. So if you haven't voted yet, please go ahead and do so right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, this is your final chance. And it looks like we've hit 80. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the poll and share the results. And yes, we did hit 80%. So 42% of you have said yes, you're held accountable to conversion revenue KPIs. 26% came in saying sometimes, but they're not my primary KPIs. 17% no, I'm not held accountable to conversion or revenue KPIs whatsoever. And then 15% said not yet, but we're looking to add those in the future. So handing things back off to you, Cameron, and any thoughts there on the responses?
Yeah, that's super. It's actually really encouraging to me. I like hearing that there are so many people who are either accountable to it or they're at least looking to add it or they sometimes do it. That's really cool because like you said, it's really important for SEOs to be able to show our value in dollars and cents too to kind of get the buy-in we need. So I always like hearing that as really interesting results. So yeah, to kind of jump back in and before I conclude my section, it might seem odd to some people that customer experience and revenue are part of the SEO conversation, but it sounds like a lot of people are becoming more familiar with that. The reason I say that is because for years our SEO success has kind of depended on metrics like, you know, what position we're in and how much organic traffic we're getting, but we're kind of moving away from that. SEO is maturing. More organizations are demanding to see that return on their investment. So we're realizing the need to call SEO what it is, and that's a means to an end. So another reason this conversation is happening is that, you know, the line between SEO and UX has been blurring a lot actually, and that's a good thing. Google says they want to rank pages that provide that amazing experience to their users who are also your potential customers. That means SEOs are really starting to care more about those traditionally like UX focused optimizations, which starts to bleed a lot into the CRO and digital experience territory. We do have a lot more in common than we might think, which brings me to A/B Tasty. So I'm going to let Greg take it over from here. Greg, I'm going to now give the controls over to you.
Awesome, thank you. That was very interesting that, you know, 42% of the SEO folks are have KPIs around revenue. It's a really good number. I think it's going to continue and grow as you said. Perfect. I'm going to take over the presentation here. Perfect. So, you know, there's a lot of people obviously on this webinar that are, you know, objective here on driving traffic to you know, to websites and continue and increase the traffic. You know, grow the organic traffic, the pages, the rankings. But once you do that, once you take all that traffic, what do you do with it? And that's where, you know, A/B Tasty comes into play, and where testing and experimentation and personalization come into play to convert that traffic into business. So, you know, why, you know, continue to optimize the on-site business? And I think here, before we start, we have another poll, and I'll let you, Lauren, manage the poll, and we'll share the results after with the audience.
Absolutely. So here we go. Polls launching left and right. How would you rate your current digital optimization, personalization, testing, etc. efforts? So how would you rate your current digital optimization efforts? 1, not currently optimizing. 2, we've gotten started but still have some work to do. And 3, we're all over it. So we have 60% of you have voted right now. While the poll votes are coming in, Greg, could you just summarize digital optimization real quick?
Yeah. So basically, it's anything around testing and experimentation. So anything around A/B testing, multivariate testing, dynamic allocation testing, to ensure, you know, what are you what's converting better on your website. So you can do a test on a page and have a sort of very similar copy on another page, or a very similar look and feel, but you make some changes on some buttons and colors, etc., etc. So that's testing and experimentation. Personalization is all about, you know, giving the best experience and a personalized experience to people that are visiting your website. So pushing the right message at the right time to the right audience.
Excellent, excellent. And we have 80% of you have voted thus far. If you want to go in real quickly, vote right now. We'll be really happy, but I'll be closing the poll because that's our goal. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Closing now and sharing the results. So 59% of attendees have gotten started, but still have some work to do. So maybe you're doing a little bit of A/B split testing. Maybe you're trying to figure out how to split test experience and content while still performing SEO, right? So maybe you've done it in paid and have not brought it over to the entire customer experience yet. 24% of you are all over it, so you got it down. And then 17% are not currently optimizing, or maybe you haven't started optimizing yet. So that's a whopping 59% have gotten started, but still have some work to do.
Wow. Okay, so that's very interesting. So a quarter of the audience is very on top of optimization, and there's 3/4 that think they have still some work to do. So very interesting for us to have that mixed audience today. I'll continue on the presentation, but before that, we have about we have 260 people live right now. Cameron, could you give me a number between 1 and 260, please? And then we'll select the person that will be getting the $50 Amazon gift card at the end.
Sure, yeah. Let's go with 127.
Perfect. So Lauren and Christy, I'll let you choose the lucky winner, and we'll share that just before the Q&A. So coming back to what's happening in the marketplace today, again, driving traffic, but what we're seeing is that customers and consumers expect real-time frictionless experiences. They really want to have the ability to buy or to try any type of service or buy a product in a very, very easy way. So that's a massive trend that we're seeing. Again, there's a lot of content, there's a lot of activity out there, there's a lot of advertising out there with all the social media, and in what we call the attention economy, relevance is key. You really need to be relevant in front of the audience that you're talking to, and you got to have the right sort of message and the right product that is interesting the right person at the right time. Consumers review and swipe. I mean, today you have so many review websites for consumers, for software, and started maybe with Tinder at the time with swiping, but swiping, customers go left and right, they choose new products, they drop old products, they have a bad experience, they'll switch very quickly. So loyalty is really, really low right now. I mean, there's maybe some massive brands like Apple that have an extreme set of followers and a lot of loyalty, but if your experience and your brand doesn't give a good positive experience, customers will switch left and right. And then it's all about also personalization. Today we see a lot, I think we see a lot of e-commerce people really investing in personalization. So it's really pushing the right message at the right time to the right audience. So every time, everywhere, people want to see something that's really personalized. And now with all the data segments that companies can have with a CDP, for example, with Tiliums or segment, they can easily push that data into a platform like A/B Tasty to do some testing. So these are the 4 things that we're seeing in the marketplace right now. Coming back to SEO traffic and transactions, people make lasting judgments about the design's appeal of 1/2 of a second or less. So it's really important that what you're showing on the page, 1, loads super fast, and 2, the appeal of the page is going to be decided if it's positive or negative in a very, very quick way. So it's important that the look and feel and the way your content is presented on your website is very, very, very solid for the eye for people visiting. And then these are very interesting stats, because if we look at, this is a Fortune 500. Marketing budgets in Fortune 500 companies are about 11.2% of revenue. So pretty large for a Fortune 500 business. And digital acquisition, so anything online, is 25% of that. And only of all the traffic that's brought in onto websites today, 3%, only 3% converts. So it can be a subscription, it can be a lead for a B2B software company, it could be obviously a purchase for an e-commerce company. But bottom line is that 97% of digital traffic does not convert nowadays. And if you take the entire suite of Fortune 500, it's about more than 80 million per company in the Fortune 500. So it is, I think it's 15 billion is the total that's wasted, let's say, on driving traffic on websites, but only 3% converts. And customer experience optimization, which is experimentation, personalization, can really reduce your acquisition costs by as much as 50%, lift revenue by 5 to 15%, and increase the efficiency of the marketing spend by 10 to 30%. So McKinsey Digital said that, but we're seeing it with some of our customers, and I'll show some examples after this, that really drive high conversions and improve conversions and revenues for websites. And I'm going to share, again, a few case studies here from search to transaction, so from visitor to customer. Cameron was showing her funnel. We love funnels at Botify, and we love funnels at A/B Tasty, but it's very important that you optimize from the top to the bottom of the funnel. So from your acquisition, so for example, on the landing page, the on-site search experience with some good ways of presenting and having a good experience of navigation for the user, your product pages, your purchase pages, your carts, and how do you do that with repeat customers. And what we say to our customers today is that you need to optimize at every stage of the funnel. Otherwise, you're going to have some leakage at every piece of the funnel, and you can increase your conversions like that. I want to give you a few examples. I think I've got 5 here of some quick mini case studies that we do for some of our customers. So DAFPAC is a UK customer, but basically by animating the search bar, so you can see on the right here, the search bar is automated and animated. It really drives way more queries. So been testing the page without an animated search bar and an animated search bar. And they targeted all pages except checkout and all desktop users, no mobile. Basically, there was a minus 5% bounce rate on new visitors and plus 14% searches submitted on new visitors. So here, a little example of something pretty small that can drive conversions. Here, it's a brand called L'Occitane. So they're how can I say this, perfume and creams and soap brand. I'm sure most of you know that brand, but how can you optimize also your navigation on mobile? So a simple A/B test idea here. The idea was to display a sticky search bar at the top here, just underneath the navigation bar, and that targeted all mobile users. So putting the search option at the top, and basically it increased the transactions by 8%, more plus 16% access to search pages, and less 1% bounce rate. Make your searches more visible. Demar is a clothing company in Europe, and they wanted to do again a test on their current search page at the top, on their main page, and then on the second variation that you see at the bottom, they very simply added sort of a line around the search bar to increase the search rate, and they targeted all pages and all users, and the clicks on the search call to action went up by 7%, and the transaction by 2%. Customer reviews are very important nowadays for e-commerce, for anybody that sells online, and even software companies. But basically, Hajj Badges, they provide badges for events, and basically they just simply added the customer reviews to their product pages, and obviously good reviews gives better trust into the product. And basically, it increased their pages by 18, their increase in page reached by 18%, plus 38% increase in transactions, and plus 67% increase in revenue per visitor. So these very simple sort of add-ons can also have a dramatic effect on the conversions, the traffic, and the revenue. Here, this is one of our latest case studies. It's Fenty. I'm sure a lot of you know the brand. And basically, they did a multi-test here, ABC test. And what they did is they hit the prices on the product categories to increase access to the product pages and improve the conversion rates and the average order value. So they do that. I would say it's a technique employed by quite a lot of companies in the luxury industry. They grab you with a really cool image and a great product, but they don't put the price. And basically, again, they put that on their product category pages, all users, all device. So they have an increase of 58% in terms of clicks on products on new visitors, and an increase of conversion rates of 12% on new visitors as well. So really good case studies around this. The last one is Decathlon. They're a European, like a Dick's Sporting Goods, if you will. And they wanted to, again, show a progress bar. So they did an A/B test, and they added a progress bar reflecting the remaining amount required to get free shipping. So for example, your free shipping starts at $50. They added that bar, oh, you're at 40. You only need $10 more to get free shipping, which is maybe $5 or $10. And it really increased also their clicks on continue shopping by 11%, increased transaction rates by 10%, and revenue by 26%. So again, adding that little extra really makes the conversions better. So pretty simple things to put in place. You can do that easily with A/B Tasty, but how then can we work better together between the SEO and A/B Tasty? And yeah. I'll continue and drive the slides if you want, Cameron.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds fine. I think this should have the most recent version, but if it doesn't, I'll just fill in the blanks. So thank you so much. So yeah, one thing I'd recommend testing teams do is to ask their SEO teams about what searcher queries are driving impressions and traffic. So these are the real words that your audience is using to find you. So it might be a good idea to try incorporating those words, their words, into some of your messaging tests and see if those improve conversions and engagement rates. So that's one idea. You can go ahead to the next one. So yeah, another tip for testing and CRO teams is to ask your SEO team about the top organic landing pages. This is a pretty simple one. So these are the pages on your site that are getting the most traffic from people using a search engine. So it might be a good idea to prioritize those pages for some of your conversion optimization projects, since they are getting the most traffic. Cool. And then one last tip, just from an SEO perspective, and then I'll let Greg do his tips. But for testing and personalization teams is to let the SEO team just know about the test that you're planning. They might have some really valuable insights about some of the changes that may be good or bad for performance in Google. So potentially there might be tests that involve substantially cutting or modifying content and links. So just make them aware of your tests and work together on those tests to make sure that they're, you're promoting conversions as well as SEO.
Perfect. Just a few final slides on testing and SEO. Obviously, don't exclude the Google bots from your A/B tests. That's important. And also, don't display pages that are too different from one another to your users, and because it'll be very difficult to figure out which elements had a greater impact. So if you have a page that's completely different than the other, but by changing, as I showed you in examples, some little things, you can see really what affected the conversions. And if Google sees the two versions to be too different, and they can also see that as a manipulation attempt. So it could have an impact in terms of the ranking result. And also a few other ones regarding split testing. Again, never block Google's bots. Place a canonical attribute on the variant pages so it knows that it's linked to the initial page, and you need to redirect your visitors via 302 or JavaScript redirection. So Google interprets it as a temporary redirect. And when a redirect test is completed, put into production the changes that have been shown to be useful. That's very important as well. And just last few elements here, and I'll take maybe just the last point here. Only run the experiment as long as necessary. You don't need to run an experiment for 3 months. What we recommend is that you run an experiment for 2 business cycles. So depending on your business, but usually it's like 2 weeks is our initial recommendation as a good baseline, and have at least 5,000 people and 600 clicks in terms of getting a minimal statistical base to make a decision on your testing. And with that, we're going to jump in the Q&A in a minute. Cameron, did you have anything else?
No, nothing else on my part. I think it's time for the gift card.
Perfect, exactly. So Lauren, can you give us the name of the lucky winner?
Yes, the name of the lucky winner is Rebecca Lucas. So Rebecca Lucas, you are the winner of today's gift card. Step on down. We'll be emailing you all of the information after the presentation. But congrats. Again, that's Rebecca Lucas.
Thank you.
I was trying to get as game show as I could.
That was very, very good.
Time of the day when the Price is Right comes on, I believe. So, and I think I'm dating myself there. So, let's get started with Q&A. If there isn't anything else that you would all like to address beforehand.
No, I don't think so. Q&A sounds good. We'll turn our cameras on, I think, so we can.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay. See both
Perfect.
of you. So we're excellent. We're working, and let's move forward. So I'm glad that, well, honestly, based upon the response we got in the questions and the amount of info that you had on those last slides, I think we could do a standalone post or presentation just on SEO friendly A/B split testing. That was fabulous on that side. And Greg, just to let you know, we do see your desktop right now.
Okay.
So you might want to put it on that last Q&A slide. Let's see, no problem. But I'll go ahead and get started regardless. So speaking of SEO safety when performing A/B split testing and things like that, are there any other ways that that businesses can prevent Google from indexing their experiments? And when is that testing and experimentation considered cloaking?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I can answer a couple parts of that, and then Greg, definitely feel free. The cloaking question is interesting just because I know that is a concern I hear all of the time with SEOs who might not be as familiar with A/B testing, but you want to just make sure that you don't block based on user agent is what Google recommends. So making sure that you're not blocking Google from your experiments, because that's when it can start to look like you're trying to serve different content to Google than you are to your searchers and to people. So that's one of the main things that you would want to do to avoid cloaking. But Greg, go ahead with maybe some of the other.
I think this is exactly the same thing for us. You need to be transparent with Google and the way they crawl, and I think that's the main point from that question.
Yeah.
Awesome, great. And also just to let everyone know, we'll be making the deck, all the slides available after today's presentation. And we'll be doing a recap on Search Engine Journal and uploading the video of today's presentation and Q&A to YouTube and our other Search Engine Journal media channels. Next question. Do A/B Tasty and Botify offer consulting services on top of your, I guess, SaaS and software offerings?
For us, yeah, I can answer that. I mean, we're software. We do software, so we're not a consultancy or an agency, and we don't offer those types of services. But we do have a super smart professional services team who they exist basically to help our customers use Botify to its full potential. So we'll help you in that regard, and we kind of are there to make sure that Botify is helping you achieve your goals, but no direct like consulting or anything.
I think the same as Cameron at Botify. We're a SaaS provider. We provide CSM services as well as services to help you get ramped up. But we partner with a lot of agencies. There are a lot of agencies in the US that are focused on conversion rate optimization and testing, and we partner with a good number of them. And we, depending on the needs of the customer, we would either tell our customer to work with the agencies, or if they have something really specific, they can work with us. But most of the consulting services, we do it with partners.
Excellent, excellent. And here's a question. In your overall experiences, what are some of the most important mobile optimizations for driving conversion? Are there any common denominators in conversion rate optimization for mobile users at the end of the day?
I think it's all about ideation. So, a lot of customers come and ask us, hey, where should I start? What should I do on my mobile apps? Again, I was showing that example of L'Occitane here. Changing the UI, the user interface is important. Also, what's the feedback from the consumers is very important. So, for example, if there's an issue on your app on some things, that leads you to think, hey, there's an issue here. Maybe we can try to improve that. And what our customers are asking us right now, especially on mobile, is like, how can I improve my engagement? How can I improve my conversions on my mobile? And engagement for a product owner is very important. They want to, keep the people on the app. So I give you an example. We have a fitness application company that uses our mobile app optimization platform, and they want to figure out which fitness class is better than the other and what people prefer. So it's really about doing some little tests around what type of on the solutions that you provide, or the classes you provide in that case, and do some little tests on the search bar, on the UI at the beginning. So it's really around, bottom line, it's all around the engagement on mobile apps today. So listening to your customers is a big thing, and that's what our customers do today.
Excellent. And one thing I'm excited about being an SEO, especially seeing audiences and users do that dramatic shift from desktop to mobile, even now within B2B, is the ease of use with purchasing on a mobile device. The one click on Apple Pay and Google Pay and everything else has really changed the game. So that, when you're talking things about KPIs and revenue, there was a time where it felt like we had to line up cross-device attribution, right? But starting to see those mobile sales really expand with the ability just to buy with a thumbprint, right, on an Apple device. So that is a really cool stuff. Speaking of transactions, KPI, and business impact, how can, if here's a question about content marketing and content strategy. So putting together a blog strategy, content marketing, content creation for categories, listings, subcategories, landing pages, et cetera, is really important sometimes from a traffic perspective. But what are some tips on linking up the success metrics and business impact from doing so with those content creation practices?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. I'm sure we both could speak to that.
Yes.
It is really important to make sure, I think we alluded to this a little bit, but creating content that matches the intent of your audience, and that audience is hopefully your potential buyers if you're targeting the right people. So making sure you're looking at the queries that are driving interest in your site is really important, because you can kind of see what their needs are, and by seeing what their needs are and addressing those with your content, building your content strategy around that, you're much more likely to get visitors that are more qualified, and they are more likely to convert at some point down the line. So using that assisted conversions is going to be really important. Like if you use Google Analytics, for example, seeing, organic search might not always directly convert. It does, but it might not always. It might be, one of the touch points down the line. So just making sure you're kind of mapping that, to see the full picture of that, I think is really important. But yeah, I would say just creating that intent matching content so that you provide your potential customers with the information that they need when they're researching, when they're just getting their information, when they're trying to evaluate their options. So just meeting those needs with your content is really important.
Yeah, and on the experimentation side, I would say, we see, especially on the B2B SaaS side of things, a lot of good content created by companies, but they're also like, hey, how do I convert that content into a lead, into a subscription, into a newsletter? So testing stuff like the length of your landing page, how many fields you have on the side of your articles. Do you want a call to action, for a demo, or for a free trial on the left, on the right? So there's a lot of things that you can do on your pages to convert that traffic into, and push the traffic into, in the areas that you want. So either to buy a product or to get a subscription or a lead, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot that can be done there on the pages.
Excellent, excellent. And then building upon that, so in-depth keyword or topic-driven content strategy is one major component of SEO, but so is the scaled out ability to make changes like whether they're macro or micro changes that, in the title, in the meta description, headings and H1s of pages, structured markup, structured data, fixing duplications and things like that. How do you usually, do you have any tips on the ability to connect those changes, which are sometimes some of the ones right out of the gate, with overall uplift in conversions or traffic?
So, I mean, in terms of the, going back to, all the metadata and all the structured data and everything, what we do is that, we have a sort of an overlay editor that comes on the page. So we are more onto, okay, I have my live page right now, and I have an easy to use editor that I can plug as an overlay on my page, and I can make all the changes that I want in terms of like colors, in terms of like text, et cetera, et cetera. So, for example, A/B Tasty, you can start using, the overlay editor in a matter of minutes on any type of page, and you can make as many changes as you want, in very quickly, and create your different variations on your pages. Anything, I don't have anything on the meta descriptions or on the more the SEO type things.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Kind of similar with Botify, how we keep track of things is that it's over time. So you get to see your data over time, which really is helpful when it comes to pinpointing, when you made a specific change and when you saw the result. So with Botify, you're pulling in all of this information from like your log files to all the way down to traffic. So you're getting all of that information, and it's much more, it's easier to see kind of the correlation between like, okay, I saw this effect right after I made this change. So you can kind of keep better track of those things, which is what I would recommend. And I know a lot of people too will say, like, if you're testing something major, at least on an SEO, from an SEO perspective, just test that thing, test the one thing at a time, because it always is kind of hard to know what caused what if you are making multiple changes at the same time. So that's another thing that some of our customers have done before as well. But yeah, I think with a platform like Botify, you're able to see, not only the changes you made and how it how it affects the HTML layout of your page, but also affects, the data you're pulling in from your analytics. So that's, your traffic and conversions as well. So you can kind of see that correlation in tandem.
Awesome, awesome, thank you. And Botify made a lot of waves when it first launched with the ability to have log file analysis be part of the overall, I guess, SEO crawl and analytic experience. I do have a question from Jenny Woods that popped in. Jenny asked, does a Botify crawler need any type of whitelisting when running these tests on the site? When she's working with her clients.
When crawling a site, yeah, I mean, I would
Yep.
have to check on that because just to be honest, I'm not like a product expert for sure. So, but we have a lot of people who could answer those questions, and I'd be more than happy to get you all the information on crawling and specifying how you're crawling your sites. So, yeah, I can definitely answer that after this.
Awesome. And then I'm going to read out names just to get people a little bit more excited as we draw towards the end of the webinar. So Sean Miller asks or says, hey, removing pricing from category pages on e-com is a great and interesting idea. Do you have any examples of any sites that have removed pricing from their category page, or maybe any other sites that have done so that they can check out?
Yeah, I think it's pretty common in the luxury industry. So if you go to any sort of, my guess, if you go to a lot of the sort of caring type businesses, which is Balenciaga and these type of companies, or if you go to any of LVMH's websites, like Fenty, for example, any price tag that's pretty high for an item. So if it's, I don't know, something above maybe $1,000 or whatever, they're going to drive you to, look at the beauty of the product and sell you on the beauty of the product before putting the price. So they really want to attract you in that sort of funnel and bring you on the page and say, hey, wow, this is interesting, but they really want to catch you, step by step in the process. And I think it's pretty common again in the luxury industry and higher priced goods online.
Just like the guest menu at a nice restaurant should never have the price next to the dish, right? So,
Yeah.
Okay, and I like that tease. Actually, one of the sites that I work with, one thing that we noticed from the core update was there is a review site that typically ranks underneath them that typically has all of the rich snippets, the stars and everything else on there, right? And the core update, after core update yesterday, I don't know if it's correlated or not, we're trying to figure that out, that review site lost its rich snippets. And we noticed a decline in branded clicks. So we think that people are actually clicking over to that review site now because they're trying to find out how many stars the client has. Whereas when the stars were already in the SERPs, people knew there was no reason to click over to the review site. You're like, oh, it's 4.5 stars, great product. I'm going to go ahead and click over to the client site at the end of the day. So it's amazing how much teasing can do.
Yeah.
So moving from luxury goods to small and medium sized manufacturer, Maria, forgive me, Dimitrenko asks, they are a medium-sized company. They haven't done any A/B split testing yet. But for a marketing department that consists of 2 people, what is one of the first things you would, most important things to start from an A/B split testing perspective? But not only for Maria's company, but for SMBs out there.
Yeah, I think it's I think the first thing to understand is what are your goals as a business? What do you want to achieve on your website? And I think SEO is one piece, conversion is one piece, but like what do you want to do is like convert more customers online, you have a hole in some of the pieces of your funnel, so you want to understand what your strategy and what your intent is. That's the first thing. And then I think, what are you seeing as holes in your funnel? Like, are people dropping at a certain point? Where are they dropping? So you need to figure out where are the gaps and maybe list a few there, and that gives you a first angle to go and test stuff. The other thing, and I think I mentioned it very quickly, is like usually people that are SEO or that are doing testing, they're 100% their faces in the computer and only looking at what they do on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes it's important to take a step back and maybe take people in different departments. Hey, Bob in marketing or Jenny in finance. I'm just giving examples here, but like, hey, what do you think of that page? What's not working for you? What do you think? And these are the type of people that can give you some good angles as well. And the other piece is also customer support. If you have issues on your customer support, people are saying, hey, what's your return policy? Or if you have a lot of calls on that, so maybe you need to improve your pages or show better, I would say, explanations around your return policies, maybe higher in the page. So again, it's a holistic process. I think SEO and testing work very well together. There are teams that speak more and more together today in the marketplace. We see that. But it's all about what's your strategy, what are the problems you want to fix, and try to find a few angles to go after pretty quickly.
Okay, and last question from Lauren Cox. They have a blog, and it's really their main hub for attracting organic traffic to their site. However, may not be converting as well as typical landing pages would be doing. What are some best practices on really converting those visitors and maybe passive content readers into leads or customers at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm sure we both have a lot to say on this one, but with blogs, I mean, it's very common to not see them directly converting. And that's because blogs a lot of times serve a very specific purpose, and that's usually to get to capture that top of funnel and mid funnel interest. So by nature, they're going to be capturing the attention of people who may not even know that they want to buy something yet. So just being patient is one thing I would recommend. But at the same time, I would think about what kind of phase of the funnel. I know that's kind of loosely said because people are all over the place when it comes to their purchase journey and it depends on the product, but I would take a look at what phase of the funnel loosely your content is targeting. And then maybe incorporating a CTA, a call to action, to something slightly a little bit more down the funnel. So if you have a very top of funnel blog post and you're writing about how to, fix your bad 301 redirects or something like that, you could lead them to a case study, maybe that talks about how you helped someone do that before you just ask them to buy now, and have a form on the page. So just coaxing people down with your blog post, I think is really important, but don't get discouraged if they're not directly converting, because a lot of the time that's not always what they're for.
Yeah, and I think I would 100% agree with that. And the other piece is also, be patient and don't be too greedy. Maybe at the beginning you just want to get the email address of the person, and then you build a nurture stream. Hey, and ask more information in the process of that stream. So it's a step-by-step process there. And I would say if you have landing pages that have, that's asking for 10 things, it's not going to convert. So it's really about what type of information you want as a first starting point. I think nowadays the email is huge, but maybe it's more, it's first name, last name, company, and the email, and start with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, let's not forget that the goal of top of funnel is to get the user into the funnel, right? Like, and once you get that email, that can be a custom audience in Facebook, that can be someone that you can target on LinkedIn. You can nurture, like you said, in the future, and don't forget retargeting pixels. And when you're building out your content strategy, make sure you map that to where that person is within that customer journey, where that piece is within the customer journey or funnel journey, right? So if someone like visits you for the first time, you may not want to retarget them with an ad saying, buy this now. You may want to retarget them with the next step in that journey, right? So there's various ways to do that, but thank you for that question. I think it's sometimes we're a little bit too quick to get discouraged if someone reading a very passive blog post does not become a customer at the end of the day, especially when KPIs are involved. Cameron and Greg, thank you very much. We've reached the end of our Q&A session and presentation. It's been fantastic. I understand there was a typo next to my name in the final slide with the word founder. I had a couple people mention that. Hopefully it does not say flounder. So, but we'll make sure we get that fixed in
That's
the
real life
future.
for you.
Yeah. But it's always great to have great information and conversation from our partners such as, Botify and AB Tasty. Rebecca, again, congratulations. We'll be following up on that. Just to remind everyone, we will be following up after the webinar with email with recaps, slides, video, et cetera. If there's any questions that we did not get to today, we'll be sending them over to Cameron and Greg to be able to fill out, and that will be part of our recap as well. Anything else that you would like to add before we sign off?
Just thanks for being here, everyone. We really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, and thanks again for participating. I appreciate it.
All right.
Amazing. Just to let everyone know, our next webinar is going to be with our partner Milestone on Wednesday, January 29th on 2020's digital trends and must-haves with Banu Agarwal, who will be presenting with Bill Hunt, my good friend from back Azimuth. So stay tuned for that. We'll be sending out an email where you can sign up for this, our next webinar as well on January 29th. And then also, after we close out today, we're going to have a short survey. So those of you who are left with us, if you could please fill out that survey, take a couple seconds to do so. It will help us make our webinars even better in the future. So again, Greg and Cameron, thank you so much. Thanks to Botify and AB Tasty for bringing us this webinar today. And we'll see all of you soon and shortly.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.